We're going to pick up where we left off with the vocabulary with the altitude. Now the altitude is a line segment, as you can see in these pictures here. And this line segment is going to go straight down from your one of your points on the outside of your triangle, and it's going to go to the opposite side with a right angle. So it is a segment that goes from a point to the opposite side and forms a right angle. One thing you'll notice about the altitude in these pictures here is that they don't touch the actual side. You'll notice that this line here is actually continued on with a dashed line after it stops at B. The reason is that if you were to draw a line down from point A here, there is no place you could draw it and make a right angle. So sometimes the altitude actually happens outside of the triangle. That's totally possible. Now we're going to look at bisectors. Now this is review from the previous unit. Bisectors can come in a couple of forms. It can cut an angle in half, bisect an angle, or it can bisect a segment. Now when you're bisecting an angle, it goes from the vertex of the angle, let's say through point B, and then through another point somewhere else, the key being that it splits that angle in half. So when you have this segment here, BX, it is bisecting the angle ABC. So our definition would be it cuts angle in half. When you're talking about a bisector for a segment now, we'll look at this example. It says that MN is bisecting AB, and AB is a segment. So AB down here is not an angle this time, it's a segment, and it's going to get cut in half. So you could say the definition here is a segment that cuts a segment in half, or into two equal pieces. Now going down a little bit, a median is going to have some of these things in common. Now a median is a line that goes from the point on one side of a triangle to the midpoint on the opposite side. So if we were to write that out, it goes from segment from point to midpoint on opposite side. And just like a bisector of a segment, the median is going to cut this side in half into two equal pieces. Our next word, perpendicular bisector, shares some things in common with the median in that it's also cutting one side exactly in half. The main difference between the two is that with the perpendicular bisector, this line that bisects does not necessarily go through the opposite point. However, it does always form a right angle. The thing it has in common is it takes this side here and splits it exactly into two equal pieces, just like the segment bisector and the median do. So it is a segment or line from that splits the side of a triangle, or just the side of a segment, into two equal parts and forms a 90-degree angle. With the side. So it splits it in half and forms a 90-degree angle here. Our last word is mid-segment. Now a mid-segment is interesting because it takes a standard triangle, and if you're looking at, let's say, side XY, the mid-segment that's parallel to XY is going to go halfway up the left side here, so halfway up there is going to split that in two, and then go halfway up the right side here, split that in two, and when you connect those two, you get the mid-segment. So this right here is the mid-segment. Again, what's cool is this gets split into equal pieces with the other side also getting split into equal pieces. Mid-segment has a couple interesting properties based on the way it's made. One of them is that the mid-segment is half the length of the segment it's parallel to. So AB, you can still read these letters here, that's an A and there's a B over here. AB is equal to 1/2 the length of XY. Another thing that's true about this is AB is parallel to XY. One way that you can know that it's half the length is if you think of this is the whole length, this is 0, and since it's halfway in between, it has to be half the length. Also, since this side here is split in two, and this side here is split in two, then you know that it's going halfway up here, halfway up here. It should be the same slope, which is why it's half the length and parallel. It shares the same slope.